Hey, Perry Peacock here with Wilderness Innovation. I'm out here today up in the foothills of the mountains. The mountains up behind me to this direction are, around 12,000 feet at the top along the ridge peaks there. And we got snow melt coming down the creek right here. And today's been a little rainy off and on. And we got forecast for more rain coming. So that means I've got to do myself up some kind of a shelter as the afternoon grows on here, so I can be ready for the storm when it gets here. So I found this spot right here, and I think I'm going to construct a lean-to with one of our tarps, our multicam PSTL, the large 10 by 10 tarp. So I'm going to show you kind of a way of constructing this. I'm going to do a lean-to with a little awning on the front. So let me show you a little bit about what I got in mind here. All right, now when I look over here, I got a couple of cottonwood trees, and they kind of almost grow together at the bottom and then gradually separate. I can stick a piece of a log in that gap right there in that V on one end, and then on the other side over here, I've got a couple branches here that kind of fork right there up against the trunk of this juniper. So I can jam a piece in the other end into here, and then that'll be my ridge line or ridge pole for my lean-to setup. So back in some of these clumps of brush, some of this is some brush maple, we got some willow, cottonwood back along through here, and but we do have some old trees like this piece right here that has died and fallen down. I can get my saw and saw that off, and then we can utilize that. So I'm coming along here and just kind of trimming up the anything sharp. I don't have to get all the bumps out of here. I mean, these tarps are pretty tough, really. Now you notice as I'm doing this, I'm necking up on the handle a good bit on this hatchet, because I really doing this kind of thing I probably should have done on the ground. But anyway, if I'm out here like this and I got to swing and I miss and come down here and hit me. So I'm just using the weight of the head of the hatchet itself. And so that works just fine. So we'll get all this cleaned up here and we'll be ready to lay up our poles here. Okay, so I've now got three wall poles here leaned up against my ridge pole, and on top of this is where I'm going to lay my tarp. So what I want to do here is I'm going to clean up these poles here and get them ready so that we can lay the tarp over here. When you get into limbing something like this, then typically what you want to do for axe safety basically is you want to be trimming with your body on one side and your hatchet or axe on the other side. That way any slip kind of deflects off of there. So there we go. And you don't have to get everything off. I mean, these tarps are tougher than you think. So I just got to get the worst of it off, and I don't have to have it smooth as a baby's butt or anything like that. But I do usually try to feel it with my hands. Anything that's pretty sharp, then I'll take that off. So I got one more to go. One other little tip of axe or hatchet safety is remembering that in our days most of us are not lumberjacks. like some of the guys in the past in the older times. So for safety, if you feel your arm or your hand getting kind of fatigued as you're chopping or whatever, stop and take a break. That's a lot of times when the big accidents happen, is when you get fatigued and lose control. So if you feel that coming about, take a breather for a minute. Remember, you're not Paul Bunyan. Alright, so now that I've got my poles all cleaned up, no sharp edges, now I'll take my saw. I'm going to trim these poles, just 2 or 3 fingers longer than the ridge pole, and they'll be ready to go. Alright, now if I want to, I can lash these poles onto here with some cord, or all of our tarps come with 3 sets of shock cord. This is the shortest one, and there's one half again as long as this and one twice as long as this. That all comes with our tarps, and generally we use them to help string out our tarps or whatever, or to pull on them in a way that gives a little shock absorbing for the wind. But I could also use it right here in lieu of tying a piece of cordage or not. And so I just pull this shock cord snug. Just pull this snug. It's got a cord lock right here built into it. I slide that up there. Now that thing is not going to go anywhere. So I can do stuff like that and not even tie any cordage at all on here. Okay, let's get this thing all strung out here. Now this multicam tarp here is the first multicam tarp we ever made, and it's old. This tarp has been through the ringer. It's had a tough life, but it's still hanging in there, doing well. Alright, so now I'm just going to kind of trim this thing up a little bit, and I'm going to stake these corners if I can. This ground is really rocky. If not, I'm going to pile some rocks on it. But one way or the other, I got to secure this back in, and then I'll go up front and snug that up. All right, now all of our tarps come, except for the small, all of our tarps come with a set of 6 tent stakes, like these ABS stakes right here, and they come with a shock cord in the eye up here too, because sometimes you want to use them in here. Instead of going right through with your stake, you might want to put the shock cord through there to give yourself a little bit of tensioning in the wind. But today I'm just going to be going right in here, so doesn't really matter today. Okay, so now I'm going to take the corner here. Whoop. Butterfingers. I'm going to just tie me a little knot in there. And I'm going to go back around this tree right here. And that old juniper. I want it to be able to pull a little bit that way so that so we're always pulling a little tension to the outside. I'm going to throw a quick little taut line in here so that I have an adjustable nut. Cinch that down. Alright, there's that. We do the same thing on the other side. Maybe one in the middle if I need it. Well, I'll do something in the middle for sure. Well, I'm glad to be underneath my cover here because it is raining. I don't know if you can hear it here on the sound or not, but anyway, it's good to have my lean-to built up here. I want to give you just a little info on the setup here. I mentioned before, it's nicer if you can to use some poles with a tarp setup. A lot of the old timers used to do that with their canvas setups. They'd get out somewhere and they'd cut some poles and use for support or whatever. But these poles are inside, so if I get some heavy weather or whatever, when that bears down on the tarp and everything, like a heavy wind trying to make a sail out of it or whatever, it can only push down onto these poles as far as it can, and then the poles resist, and it just helps. The tarp can handle it. It just helps keep the tarp pushed back here more than getting pushed in a little bit by the force of the wind. It's very quick to set up. I mean, this probably took me 15 minutes longer than setting up a lean-to just with cordage and tent stakes. So it really didn't take that long to do, and it's a very nice little setup here. I might even take a nap during the rainstorm for a little bit. Now I've also got my multi-purpose gear bag. I often use the compressor bags or whatever I've got with me. I often use them as makeshift pillows. I lay my felt hat onto there because it's comfortable. But so I mean, I got it. I could sleep right here easy. This is actually pretty nice and cozy. See a little bit of rain dripping off the eaves of the awning right here on kind of over on that side. But I'm good to go here. Very nice, very, very nice. So here we are inside the shelter. You can see the poles up here. I'm looking over to the far end there, down there at the foot end. But you can see how the poles help to support the shelter. They keep that back away from you pretty good. So if you're getting a wind pushing in, it's not coming down against you, not like it matters that much, but you know, ideally you like it to be kept nice and taut, and that's what these poles up here help to do. And that ridge line really gives you a nice straight line there for your awning to hang off of. And that awning's only not even it's probably close to a foot, but an awning like that can make a whole lot of difference in a lean-to. A lot of times people make lean-tos and it just ends at the ridge pole. But if you can put a little bit of awning out there, you'll be absolutely astounded by how much additional protection that gives you. It helps to keep any dripping from happening farther out from the entrance, so it's not splashing, splashing on the rocks or the ground right here and back up onto you. So that little awning makes a huge difference, at least in my experience. Here's the shelter at a little bit more of a distance. And you see that thing blends in pretty nicely, really. And it really does a nice job. I got a really cozy spot here by the creek. Again, loving it outdoors, having a great time, exploring around, and showing you guys a few things that I mess around with when I come out. But I hope you have a great time in the outdoors. I hope you get out as many times as you can. Enjoy the heck out of it. Take our gear along. It works really nice. Try our tarps. They're really great. Work really well. And here is just another idea of how you can use them. And but have a great time. Be safe. Take your family out. Enjoy the outdoors. This is Perry Peacock, Wilderness Innovation.